Yeah, so thank you so much, Vanvi, for a wonderful introduction. So, to once again, to reiterate the introduction of myself, it's simple. My name is Angha Chakrabarti, and I'm currently pursuing my graduation with the major of ASPSM, that is Advertising, Sales Promotion, and Sales Management from Mata Sundri College for Women, University of Delhi. So, my interests are simply all about researching or reading and writing and all forms of art themselves. And with that in mind, I would like to give a very small introduction as to why I believe I had chosen this topic. So there are three main points into it. The first point being the matcha trend versus the wake late, the sleep early, wake late trend, where we always see that, we in comparison to social media, real life is very much different. Has a stark, almost violent contrast between, the lifestyle narratives in general and in general. So in that matcha narrative cat in general, we will see that there is an aesthetic being promoted that is called that girl aesthetic. That basically includes a very curated video style of women sipping your matcha lattes, practicing yoga at sunrise, and prioritizing self-care and rest as the ultimate form of empowerment in general. But let's be realistic, guys. In our daily life, health is just here simply based out of consumption, individualism, and aesthetically pleasing. And in real life, it is not pseudo aestheticism all the time. Rather, the first to wake trend emerges. That is because of the grueling domestic chores. And last to eat trend also emerges side by side because of a symptom of patriarchal family structure where needs of a woman are considered to be secondary in nature. Second comes the the biohacking and sleep optimization frenzy versus the structural sleep deprivation being pointed out. So, a parallel trend, if you see, especially among us urban affluent professionals, there will be influencers showing you very meticulous track and sleep cycles of why the idea of aura rings, or they would promote blue light therapy and other such sleep therapies or hypnosis to enhance your sleep schedule. But in reality, the issue is that there is not a lack of knowledge per se. The issue is, even though we have knowledge that sleep is indeed important, yet we are not able to have that access towards sleep. Because let's be real, a woman has to wake up when there's a child or early relative to take care of. Or sleeping in a noisy, hot, and insecure one room home is not something an influencer would live by. Also, lying awake with the idea of your racing thoughts towards, what will be my next day chores, what is going to be my schedule for the next week emerges. And lastly, in Indian social media circle in general, there are three main trends being promoted. First is the hustle culture, where there's an over glorification of all nighters and sleep deprivation to be cool. Second is the quiet quitting, where there's a push for a better work life balance, and unfortunately, this balance is something not existing. Last but not the least is the trad wide movement in the Western sphere, that whose inspiration and notes is taken from us Indian household women. Therefore, with these three in mind, I would like to present the objectives of this topic itself. So my first objective is simple, is to quantify and raise awareness of the structural sleep gender gap in India per se, specifically the 30-minute average sleep deficit experienced by women in comparison to men by integrating the essential sleep metrics such as your duration, your quality, your fragmentation into national health surveys and time use studies. Not only that, address the root cause of sleep equity by implementing policies of using the 3 hours of unpaid care work, alleviating the double shifts or the triple shifts that comprises a woman's timetable. And third, address the compounded sleep address disparities faced by women at the convergence of gender, low socioeconomic status, and caste management. And fourth, to specify and address the profound impact of intimate power violence as well as one of the major reasons as to why there's a huge amount of sleep gender gap. And lastly, to move beyond self-reporting and include objective measures like accelerometry to ensure future studies have a very consistent use of intersectional lens to capture your specific sleep fragmentation as well as environmental barriers faced by the marginalized women. With that said, I would like to give a very small idea about the topic of what is sleep in general, right? Because everyone knows that's what exactly sleep is. It's simple. According to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, Sleep is just simple. It's a natural, easily reversible state of reduced consciousness and and deceased interaction with the environment, distinct from coma and hibernation. It is seems to be very simple idea that okay, I am done with my activities. I'm just going to lie down in bed and just have a eyes closed, and I will be going into my dreamland. Unfortunately, sleep is not that simple. Sleep consists of very much different cycles in itself, be it the light sleep, be it the deep sleep, and the REM sleep or the rapid eye movement sleep, each that has a very unique brain pattern in general. Therefore, the question arises that why are we even talking about sleep in the first place? Because let's be realistic. When you wake up, you have feel energized in that way. That energy is simply due to the fact that our body is working day by day 24/7, and in order to restore that energy pills, and for the next day comes energy conservation and storage. Second is when you're injured and you have harmed yourself due to the fact that due to injuries or per se, your body cells need self repair and recovery in general. Therefore, third comes the overall brain maintenance that is needed by your brain in order for faster efficiency and smooth functioning. Then comes the idea of what actually sleep gender gap is. So simply saying sleep gender gap is, the differences in sleep patterns that has been found between men as well as women, where it's basically found out that women who are getting longer sleep despite of the fact they are still having disorders like insomnia or sleep apnea or many more such things. And it has been found due to biological as well as social roles, be it your hormonal changes, your right from puberty, menstruation, pregnancy, perimenopause, and menopause, contributing to the very high with the integration of estrogen and progesterone being disbalanced, hence thanks to our unhealthy lifestyles. Therefore, varying sleep efficiency and sleep efficacy and susceptibility to certain sleep disorders. But the question arises that Anagha, there are so many types of feminism being existing. Why is there even a need of looking at specifically from an intersectional feminist lens? So we have to understand that what exactly intersectional feminism is. Intersectional feminism, as per the UN Women, is simply how injustice is woven into both past as well as present. In short, it had emerged because if you look at other forms of feminism, be it the Marxist feminism, be it the radical feminism, be it even ecofeminism per se, it has always catered towards white middle class women. It did not encompass all races, all types of women equally. Therefore, it had initially emerged as black feminism per se to address the ideas of misogyny, but it had also encompassed the ideas of, where it has encouraged various forms of identity, be it your sex, be it your caste, be it your race, be it your sexual orientation in general. It has been acknowledged and compassed into the parts of your identity. Why? Because it when coined by the American critical legal race scholar Kimberly Williams Crenshaw in 1989, it has been she has said one thing, that these forms of inequality, be it your racism or sexism, they do not operate separately per se, but they combine to produce very unique experiences of disadvantage. It is simply not just the sum of the individual parts, and this is what case of India lies in. We always acknowledge one thing, unity and diversity, and we often forget the fact that women are diverse here too. We have women here who hail from rural areas. We have women who hail from urban areas. We have women from urban areas who are not financially stable. We have women from urban areas who are financially stable. We have women from rural areas. So caste, your financial status, your geographical background, all of these needs to be encompassed. Therefore, putting it in a very simple man versus woman binary boundary is to be reduced, henceforth leading that how multiple systems of oppression often converge on one single body or one single identity, especially in the idea of sleep. See, it also adds the third idea of emotional labor per se, because with the changing times, let's be real, we all will acknowledge that, it doesn't matter by women if you identify yourself as a woman culturally or you're assigned a woman at birth. there will be an idea of what constitutes emotional labor, and emotional labor is glorified, but it is still not respected. And intersectional feminism provides that lens, especially when we are addressing a very common theme of what sleep gender gap is or what sleep in general is. Therefore, it will actually lead to more effective as well as equitable solutions, that so that rather than looking for solutions over the time and regular basis, we can find a one stop solution, and simply a solution that if I have to say, it does not cater to one size fits all approach in simple terms. Therefore, to address as to how this sleep gender gap arises in the intersectional lens, we have to understand that sleep as a structural resources. So if you look at sleep, it is often broken down due to three main models. The first is the biological or physiological model that encounters the role of your sex, your steroids, or your hormones, be it the testosterone, be it estrogen or progesterone in general, that overall affects your sleep rate. Then comes the psychiatric illnesses that covers the idea what if a woman has some underlying issues of anxiety, depression in today's day and age, where there's a hyper competitiveness, there's hyper competition, not in terms of career success, but in terms of looks as well. So, with that, it has been found that if there are body image issues with the woman or anxiety, depression in general, there are higher chances of them having sleeplessness or insomnia in general. Lastly, we will be covering mostly the sociological approach, which is the dominant approach that has been found from the lens of an intersectional feminist, where it addresses the greater inequality being faced by the woman. Henceforth, to prove my point from biological and physiological reasons as well as psychiatric illnesses in general, I would like to draw your attention to one of the perfect examples as to how sleeplessness is more common among women with the data from sleepfoundation.org. So, in the first chart data, you will see in this pilot survey that, in comparison to women versus men, no matter whatever the idea is, be it the idea of waking up towards next chores, be it of terms of how to get an FD done, be it simple or be it simple issues, there are chances a woman will keep on thinking about it. That is because, fun fact, depression is something that is very much diagnosed differently among women. Because if you look at men, you will analyze that depression symptoms are mostly anger related. They will be more volatile with their emotions. They will be more prone towards substance abuse or drug abuse due to these very patriarchal structures, because they cannot emote their emotions well. Women, on the other hand, since we are considered to be the emotional gender in India, we are supposed to be hormonal and gracie. Due to that fear itself added to it, we women often think about it how to exacerbate the problem without trying to, let's say, present ourselves as the same. And with the hormones, in fact, it has been said that, with perimenopausal or menopause, which is still not addressed quite well in this day and age, periods is still a taboo subject. That is how undiagnosed and unwell. With that in it, to prove my point again as to how normalized it is, this oppression of women, let us go to literature analysis. So I'll be covering three main types of literature. One would be from a Bengali book, second would be a proper English classic, and the third would be a very simple example of the Veds. So in our so in the first book I have taken as example, it is Talisma Nasreen's Another Life, which is basically a poem. So the poem actually details about the endless fragmented labor of Bengali women that illustrates how domestic duties and sexual obligations consume their time, be it from dawn to the rest of the night, negating sleep or restorative sleep in general. So the first line, if you can see completely exactly. The first line is the crows and women greet the dawn together. The women blowing into the oven to start the fire, tapping on the back of the winnowing tray is the first example of how women's day begins before the city wakes in general, equating their start of labor with the crow's first calls, signifying a lack of morning rest due to their primary roles as domestic caretaker. The second example of the very same poem is the rest of the night they offer their back to be slapped and kicked by the men of the house, or sprawl half naked on the hard wooden cot. This is another example as to how a lack of rest is literalized. The rest of the night consumed by the sexual or possibly physical abuse and the discomfort of a hard wooden cot, demonstrating how the woman's body and time are basically not her own. It is basically a property of the man. When she is young, she would be considered the property of her father, and after marriage, she would be considered the property of her husband. And if she is still, and if the husband is no more, it is up to the other men of the society, be it the religious men, be it the leaders in general of the country. Not only that, another text that perfectly ingrains in mind is next slide. Yeah. So the perfect example comes in another English literature piece of Charlotte Perkins Gilman's The Yellow Wallpaper. It's basically a short story that was published in 1892 that narrated a woman's story as the rest cure for her temporary nervous depression, which actually, if you look at from a very critical lenses and from various quotes and words, it has you can easily found out that the so-called nervous depression episode is actually but postpartum depression that is forbidden from mental activity, which only heightens her mental distress and her inability to actually rest during such a sensitive time. So the first line goes, he says that after the baby was gone to the nursery for the lion, and sometimes in the day I sleep soundly, but I told him I did not sleep soundly. The line itself is explanatory. The quote simply highlights the sleep disparity between self-report and the patriarchal or the male medical authority in general. The husband is a physician himself, and knowing that how important a woman's body is after her pregnancy, it is sensitive, it needs lots of care and attention, dismisses her lived experiences of poor sleep quality itself, privileging his own scientific observations. And even her upper class status offers the pretense of rest, be it a cure or the nursery, but actually not the actual experience. The second line completely questions the idea of gender in cooperation to agency with the lines, I lie here on this great immovable bed. It is nailed down. I believe and followed that the crazy pattern by the hour, and I'm growing so sleepy I can hardly see. This forced rest becomes a source of fragmented restlessness and psychologically draining non-stop, symbolizing the very immovable bed. The narrator's madness is further fueled by the denial of both productive work in general, further be adding the restorative rest being denied in there. Lastly, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 16, and the Shlok, if you translate it, it has clearly been said that yoga is not the one who eats too much who eats too little, nor for the one who sleeps too much or too little, O Arjun. So, highlighting the very core teachings of tamas or lethargy and rajo, excessive activity. And usually, if you take other forms of feminism in it, they will take this prescription for just right sleep being gender neutral as well, failing to acknowledge the material conditions of women often forced into too little category due to caregiving that make the ideal practically unattainable for them. Then comes the very main question. From these literature analysis, we can easily see the comparison of how urban women live in comparison to rural women per se. Because if you look at urban women, most of us are from urban areas. We will have a first disrupting being the double burden and the mental load. ऑफिस का काम है, कॉलेज की पढ़ाई है, उसके बाद घर भी संभालना है. It is tiring, but in comparison to rural women, this double becomes triple. Because you have heard from your grannies or many of the female relatives living in India कि तुम तो फिर भी 8:30 बजे उठ सकते हो, हम तो 4 बजे से पहले उठी हमें उठना ही पड़ेगा. Why? Because not only do they have household chores as well as other caregiving duties, they also have to add the sustaining lifestyle. They have to practice agriculture or other village hardships as well. Not only that, in urban women, if you carefully see, there is a digital decentralization where family care is not just physical, it is digital as well. Now, but this digitalization, even though it is reduced in your rural areas, it is exacerbated by physical health implications being the sleep disruptor. When it comes to urban women, yes, they are efficient, and in more affluent households you can still find a scenario where you can hire a maid or you can hire a cook, yet the woman will be the one observing the cook and the maid, whether she's cleaning the cobwebs well, where she's cleaning the balcony, or even as simple as कि बर्तन में कोई झूठा तो नहीं लगा है ना. That mental pressure of household and care work still persists, while in rural women it is more intensive and physical, because let's be real, a rural woman cannot afford to have a cook or a maid. Then comes the employment and economic activities, where higher rate of formal sector employment as well as commuting can be long and stressful. But in rural women, there is a rather higher involvement of informal sector, be it agriculture or daily wage labor works, being the sleep gap reason. In the next slide, I would like to highlight the three main points related to it. The next point being how technology and its impact, where it becomes the double-edged sword, because social media and the time for yourself, or at the end of the day कितना भी रील scroll करो नींद उड़ ही जाती है once you get addicted to reels. Not only that, you also get that digital idea of work from home, कि अरे कोई नहीं घर से काम कर लेंगे, not understanding that it can equally take your sleep time. And in rural areas, even though this sleep is rather less prevalent, still the physical grueling task persists. And when it comes to agency and autonomy, in comparison to rural women, it is relatively high, and it can sometimes negotiate sleep schedules with partners, especially in dual income households. In rural areas, once again, the least powerful member of the family is a woman there. And sleep is frequented or it is considered to be the ultimate sacrifice a woman has to make. Only then she is an ideal woman. She is the ideal daughter. She is the ideal wife. She is the ideal female in general. Therefore, with that in mind, we will see the compounded injustice between the urban as well as the rural women in contrast to caste, patriarchy, and violence. Where, if you carefully see, when it comes to unpaid care work, there is reduced sleep duration or activity or fragmentation. But when it comes to focusing towards intersectional ideas, all women highly magnified to lower SES, but in rural women, it is due to lacking of domesticity. But in caregiving responsibilities, even though there are nocturnal awakening, sleep latency, in comparison to that, it depends upon the rural and urban setting. But in intimate partner violence is also, as we all know, two-thirds of women, it has been found, have ever experienced or are experiencing intimate partner violence. So if your partner is having violent tendencies towards you, you cannot sleep at all for the fear that in your sleep you can die itself. Therefore, a socio-economic disadvantage persists too, because the lack of autonomy, unconductive sleep environment, be it your noise, heat, insecurity, and limited healthcare resources, exacerbate this gender gap, stress related, and sleep disturbance as well. Therefore, in the era of globalization, might I say, there if you see how these overall scenario in India impacts globally exist, because the second shift is now globalized in 24/7. Whatever is happening in India is just a representation of the world, because now the world is one place. They are, we are not a homogeneous society anymore. We're a heterogeneous society. Therefore, transactional care chains exporting the sleep deprivation exist. Therefore, economic precarity fuels this sleeplessness, and henceforth, this digital divide creates rather a sleep tech paradox, where we are advised to sleep online, but offline we cannot sleep. And if we seeing this reel at night 3 a.m., this paradox is just perfect example for it. And for the biological rhythms clash with global work timetables as well. And to prove that global example, I would like to present an empirical evidences that has been presented in Sleep Foundation org itself, where young Indian women sleep approximately 30 minutes less than their male counterparts, which is further being confirmed by the 2024 time use data. Gap is considered to be very chronic and pervasive, where commencing in adolescence and persisting until women reach their 60s. Early awakening, where the women wake up nearly half an hour earlier than men to initiate domestic chores, is the main reason being found. And geographically, if you see, this sleeplessness is something in common in the states of Delhi, Bihar, Orissa, Assam, and Kerala, where Delhi stands at worst with 42% of women facing the same. Therefore, we discussed about it. But why the sleep gender gap needs to be even discussed in the first place, Anagat? It is simple. It is due to the health as well as economic consequences. Because let's be real, if we do not get enough sleep, our metabolism will slow down, our health will slow down. And in a society where unhealthy food is existing, unhealthy products are being supplied, chemicals 24/7 all around us, we are already facing the conditions of pre-menopause, where you can get your menopause exacerbated by the sleeplessness at the age of 30 itself. Not only that, with the glorification of another social media trend, might I add you, that hot girls have stomach problems is another thing. If you don't sleep, your use stress levels will decrease and your unhealthy stress levels will increase rather. Therefore, your cognitive abilities in sleeplessness high intensifies. Therefore, we shall be focusing on solutions with the three R's. The three R's being recognition, reduction, as well as redistribution in gender. Where recognition is simply to formally recognize the economic and health consequences of women's UCW burden and resulting sleep loss and integrate detailed metrics of sleep quality. Reduction is simply alleviate time poverty through public infrastructure investment to reduce time spent on resource collection. And redistribution is simply to incentivize men's greater participation in domestic work simply from the idea of a paternity leave. Therefore, in these strategies of targeted public health and research interventions as well as research methodology, we have to design such interventions to benefit women in the lower socioeconomic strata by mitigating environmental constraints and lack of autonomy, implement community-based stress reliefs programs and readily accessible mental health services to address high cognitive load and racing thoughts, integrate your universal screening and comprehensive trauma-informed supports not only for victims of intimate partner violence but also PTSD into primary care given the strong association between violence as well as sleep disorders. With that, I would like to finish this very short presentation of mine with a very famous quote as to why I believe sleep is important. That is, sleep is the golden chain that ties health and our bodies together. And with that, I finish my presentation and research. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anada, for adding this interesting touch to the feminist perspective. It was really good. Thank you so much. So, over the past few weeks, our platform has been buzzing with powerful feminist conversations, stories, and ideas that make us think, question, and then feel deeply these all the perspectives. So, today's session has added beautifully to that journey, reminding us that feminism isn't just about equality, it's about empathy, courage, and lifting each other up. And what a fitting day to be talking about women's strength. India's women cricket team is also in the World Cup final today. So they are out proving that women doesn't just ask for space, they create it. So moving forward to the questioning round, we have opened the floor for questions. So we encourage everyone to please participate and share their thoughts. So, Anagha, I would be taking the questions. The first question is, how does intersectional feminism challenge the idea that, sleep deprivation is a sign of strength, success, or dedication?
If I'm not wrong, if I could you repeat the question as to how sleep gender gap is?
How it is dedicated, like if you will sleep less, you'll be more successful, you'll be more dedicated. How it addresses that gap?
Okay, for that, I would like to give the perfect example of how over glorification of over timing yourself is it. It is the idea of Anna Sebastian Perel. We all know that on 26th of July 2024, the 26-year-old young work chartered accountant had passed away, and upon deep research, we had found that she had a heart attack. Imagine a 26-year-old lady having a heart attack. It is something so alien to us, but it is not alien to the older generation and not to us as well. Why? Because the older generation, among the older generation, it has been shown that if you have to work, you have to work for yourself. It is important. While in our generation, if you see a pattern, there is this rather glorification of importance that if your workplace is, let's say, very toxic in nature, you have to quit. But you have to, if even if there is no backup plan, there is no backup job available for you, you still have you can leave. So with that in mind comes another counter trend in specifically for a mount, that if you have to work because work is essential for our life, that is why our overworking system is something due to which why Indians are advancing in there. So this very strengthening is already there in our society. But in women, if you still see, we are still a rather patriarchal society where there is still a glorification of, a woman knowing her household chores because she is a woman, she should know, rather than, focusing on that a guy and a girl both should know how to cook, how to sew, how to do basic household chores, because these are life skills per se. I hope that helps with the question.
Okay, very well answered. Moving on to the next one. So, what role does technology play in reinforcing the gendered sleep disparities? I hope I am audible.
You are
Yes, yes,
actually,
you,
I just quit. I
yes,
just
you, yeah. Anaga, that means technology and sleep disorder. This is talking about this.
Yeah. So in terms of technology, could you repeat the question again?
What role technology plays in, widening the gap between sleep disparities?
Okay. So I had mentioned two main trends with it. The first trend is the very over nature of over glorification of work. Ki, if you see top CEOs saying ki, we Indians should work 60 hours a week or 70 hours a week is indeed there. But in juxtaposition to that, the that girl aesthetic is also being followed. And that girl often is presented with a very expensive idea that, you have to take self care, you have to sleep well, but you have to sleep well in your very expensive Lululemon leggings. You have to drink matcha latte. Only then you will be enjoying the life. And even though there are researches being proved that hey, matcha is not great. Matcha is the number one reason why our generation of women are even having, amenorrhea or low hemoglobin in general, or sleeplessness in nature, because despite it being a tea, it contains caffeine. So if you're coming from a background where you do not have access of these per se, you cannot do anything. Not only that, I'll give you a very simple example. You feel tired. Ki chalo, I have studied for 10 minutes and I'll just scroll down. And you're scrolling down your Instagram reels and then you realize कि अरे ये तो 2 घंटे बीत गए, रात के 3 बज रहे. ओ नो, मेरे को तो मेरी सीरीज भी पूरी करनी है. यू नो व्हाट, लेट मी कंप्लीट माय सीरीज टू. वैसे भी 2 मिनट रह रहा है, एक एपिसोड खत्म करती हूँ. This is a very addictive nature of social media persisting with a very simple ideology where cookies is being used. You are being analyzed. Your content is being judged throughout. So that is how, technology also plays into it.
Thank you so much, Anaga. You have mentioned a very good point here. So the next question is, why do you think the gendered nature is not changing and it is still hampering the health of women?
Okay. I'll tell you one interesting fact that many people don't know. Even in medical researches, when it comes to certain women issues, be it certain autoimmune issues or fibromyalgia, even products, be it health products or cleanliness products aimed at women, guess who the test participant subjects are? The test participant subjects are male there. Even for our own products, we are not even taken into consideration per se, because women's issues to be analyzed is very difficult. We are dominated by two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. People are realizing it very late that, most of us women are estrogen dominant due to our unhealthy lifestyle and products that is being catered. Second is the pink tax being applied, because let's be realistic, it take it from the lens of a man that you are having a gender, you are the gender that has lot of privileges. The privilege of wearing the clothes whatever you want without being judged. You also have the freedom to walk late at night or exercise late at night. Women cannot do that. If what if a woman has, let's say, सिर्फ रात का ही वक्त है उसके पास फ्री टाइम, वो बाहर वॉक के लिए भी नहीं जा सकती, एक्सरसाइज भी नहीं कर सकती. क्यों? उसको तो बोला है कि रात को मत जाओ, रात को जाना सेफ ही नहीं है. So I hope that helps.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. The next question is, in contemporary times, Men and women both share a professional status. They appoint domestic help for doing their stuff. So they both have time to regulate their sleep schedule. So how can there be a gender sleeping gap then?
I'll tell you very simple example. Even if you hire a cook or a maid, you must have heard your mother saying कि खुद को भी काम आना चाहिए और खुद को काम देखना चाहिए. क्यों? क्योंकि घर तुम्हारा है. अगर तुम अपने घर को जतन से नहीं रखोगे, चाहे वो खुद कर रहे हो किसी और से करवा रहे हो. And that idea is ingrained into women because if you don't know household chores, कम से कम ये तो आना चाहिए ना कि भाई तुम्हें अगर कल को कोई maid रखे या फिर if we keep a cook, she should know how to do it. So that becomes the first idea. Second, even if she is a working professional, as I said again, over glorification of hustling culture. A woman is still has to work and digital domestication. A work from home scenario होता है. You can ask many of the working professionals. The most tiring part is कि जब से कोविड आया है तब से सब हर चीज जी मीट हो रहा है. कुछ भी काम ऑफलाइन होता था गूगल मीट करके करते थे. घर पे भी अब सुकून नहीं है. दैट इज द हार्श रियलिटी. हमारा टाइम ही कम हो रहा है ड्यू टू कन्वीनियंस.
So true. So on the same line, Anagha, last question is that can you suggest some steps that we can take in our household to to ease the lives of women?
Okay. First of all, you have to acknowledge the fact with a very simple thing. If you're a woman, you should know how to do household chores. If you're a man, you should know how to do household chores. Why? Because these are essential life skills. अगर कल को तुम अकेले रहोगे तो तुम्हें सीखना पड़ेगा, तुम्हें अपने आप को sustain करना पड़ेगा. Simple. That is the first step. Second, you also have to understand you still have that power of controlling your dependency towards technology. बिकॉज अगर काम नहीं है, रीलो नहीं देखनी, रिड्यूस दैट टाइम. यू सीरीज संडे को देख लेना, वीकेंड में देख लेना, किसी और दिन देख लेना, गैप लेना. थर्ड, बाहर का खाना बहुत एपेटाइजिंग लगेगा स्पेशली अमंग अस स्टूडेंट्स. हम सबको पता है, मोस्ट ऑफ अस आर फ्रॉम दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी और भाई वी ऑल नो कि भाई यहाँ के मोमोज बेस्ट है, यहाँ का खाना बेस्ट है, लेकिन वो खाना अनहेल्दी है. वी हैव टू एक्नॉलेज, कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा. जरूरत पड़ेगी घर का बना हुआ खा लेंगे, बोरिंग होगा, टेस्टी नहीं होगा, लेकिन आगे जाके वेरी हेल्थ इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो दीज थ्री आर वेरी सिंपल स्टेप्स. एंड फोर्थ भी, जैसा हम बचपन में खो खो खेलते थे, वी प्लेड स्पोर्ट्स, कुछ नहीं तो नीचे जाके वॉक ही कर लो, देख लो पौधा फिर से तीसरी बार. These are very simple changes you can do in order to bring your life back to normal, or reduce that sleeplessness in general.
Okay, Anaga, that was all. Thank you so much. It was very interesting. I think the talk was interesting and the questioning round makes it even more interesting. So thank you so much. And one last question from my side. Please, elaborate your experience with the team and with our platform.
Okay, so the to be frank, the experience was amazing in general because it is my first time presenting my paper in general in front of so many people. And usually what happens is that, especially if you choose a very new topic or a contemporary topic, even you're exploring it yourself. So having that guidance, especially from Manish sir, is extremely privileged to have that. And not only that, even the you or Shailendra sir were there. When I had any issues, you were up texting me that you should do this and that. That promptness is something glad. So I'm happy I got to speak my part on GSTS.
Thank you so much, Anagha. Stay connected. Moving forward, I am delighted to invite our guest of honor to share his final thoughts related to the talk and related to the platform.
Thank you very much inviting once again. First of all, let me congratulate Anagha for wonderful presentation and bringing us in front of us very important topic which is often unheard and non-discussed. Before moving on to her points discussed, I would like to mention one, since it seems she must have heard about first women autobiography called Amar Jeevan by Sundri Devi. And when the book was published in 1876, many people said, you're not in that book itself, it's written that when her husband used to come back home and teaching his children, uh, studying and other things. And she used to sit in front of kitchen gate and listening to him. And this is how she learned studying. And later on, she wrote her autobiography. So from this background, we are coming, and we are here now discussing the sleep gender gap between men and women. That is a wonderful kind of achievement. So many important aspect of Anaga's presentations, that right from the beginning, that sleep early and wake late trend, then 30 minutes sleep gap difference in India particularly, then different level on types of sleep, then what the need, why the need of sleep, what is sleep gender gap, then intersectional feminism. And very beautifully she explained that what is intersectional feminism. One of my PhD's chapter is also feminism, where I have seen liberal notion of rights from a feminist perspective, where feminist authors and philosophers challenges liberal notion of rights. And basically, initially, they have argued for individual rights, equal rights as compared to male. And later on, they realized that this is not working. Then they asked for group specific rights, gender specific rights. And now precisely we see that why this is not working, because this patriarchal setup, patriarchal mindset, society will not adhere to the equal right to women. And then in the famous work of John Rawls in 1971, where he talks about, in Theory of Justice, where he talks about distribution. And hence many feminist philosophers, Susan Moralokin, I. M. Ang, all challenges them, saying that family itself is patriarchal in nature, that will not be a justified platform to redistribution of resources. And then one famous quote, I think Susan Moralokin says this, these point of view will not be understood by the male philosophers. So then they started talking about that, why male philosophers talking about feminism, etc. And then we see the many kind of writings. Then she's talking about that we have to come out of this binary of men and women, and we have to see issues in perspectives. That is what intersectional feminism talks about. It is basically not from the binary of men and women. If I am right, and I have not read much about intersectional feminism, but it focuses on the fact that system of operation impact people differently based on their race, class, ability, sexuality, and other characteristics. So it is a kind of new perspective from which we have not been very often seeing the issues of gender. Then she presented the data of many rural areas, urban areas, and many issues. Then next, she discussed about three authors, Taslima Nasreen, Gilliman's The Yellow Wallpaper, and third, Bhagavad Gita, that how these things are basically narrated by these texts. And then she finally presented 3 R's solutions: recognition, reduction, and redistribution. I'm very, very impressed by the presentation, and I teach in Delhi University, and I'm very impressed by the kind of quality Delhi University is producing at undergraduate level. So I must acknowledge that. Only thing I would like you to suggest that this one, I think later slides, you mentioned that these problems is basically more in Delhi, Bihar, and UP kind of areas. So is there any specific reason that why sleep gender gap is more in these areas? Or is there any kind of specific reasons which we can, so I'm sure that you will later on work more on this, and you'll come up with some substantial kind of findings that why we are seeing this kind of sleep gender gap. So basically we are seeing this, we are party to this in our home. We normally leave these kind of work to female in our house. We categorize them. We think that these are the work not made for us, and we do not contribute. And somebody, particularly a male, try to contribute substantially in this, then he is basically characterized a person who is not manly in nature. So people often shy away from doing these things, even if he thinks that this is right to share burden from the female or the counterpart. but he's somehow through peer pressure, family pressure, or some other kind of pressure, they shy away. So we must come forward, we must shred these kind of shyness, and we must share the burden as a male female kind of burden. We do not make any distinction between these kind of through gender perspective. And this technological perspective, we say we are also witnessing this in our family. Personally, myself also, we are also when watching a series, when you said that एक एपिसोड देखते हैं, फिर 10 मिनट का थोड़ा और है, थोड़ा और देख लेते हैं, तो हम सब इसमें पार्टी हैं, हम सब ये करते हैं। लेकिन प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे ये है कि जब हम ये करते हैं, तो जब नेक्स्ट डे जिसका कॉम्प्लिकेशंस हमारे ऊपर आता है, वो बर्डन हम बेयर नहीं करते हैं। हम चाहते हैं कि वो बर्डन किसी और पे जाए, और पर्टिकुलरली वो फीमेल होती है जिसका बेयर वो करती हैं। So it's a very wonderful presentation. I'm very impressed. I'm very learning topic, and I hope that you come up with more such enhancing topics. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you, this platform, for inviting me, Manish sir, and the team of CSTT, for inviting me and giving the opportunity to listen here and saying something. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your thoughts and for making this session even more memorable with your reflections. And we'll continue to resonate with your thoughts also. Thank you so much. Moving forward, I would like to now call Miss Nidhi from LSR to give a brief about her topic for next week.
Greetings to everyone. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
So I am Nidhi, and today I'll just share about the information of my topic. So my GSTS conversation focuses on cross-border infiltration and its effect on the environment, a case study of India. I'll introduce firstly what is actually mean when it comes to cross-border infiltration. It refers to the unauthorized movement of people across national boundaries, and how in India this issue affects not only security but also forest, land use, and ecological balance. I'll also discuss about how national and international bodies begin addressing this issue of infiltration from both environmental and security perspectives. This include how repeated incidents in border regions led policymakers, environmental institutions, and global forums to recognize infiltration as a multi-dimensional challenge affecting ecosystems and resource distribution. It includes deforestation, illegal land encroachment, pressure on natural resources, loss of biodiversity diversity, and human wildlife. Conflict in border sensitive zones like West Bengal. In Toto, I would be highlighting the process of policy frameworks at the core of nations across the world, especially developing economies like India. Also, I'll examine how border governance, environmental protection laws, and forest conservation policies intersect in countries with porous borders and fragile ecological systems. I'll highlight the conditions of some of the remote areas of India, preferably the affected border regions of West Bengal and parts of Northeast, such as soil erosion, forest degradation, habitat disruption, and resource strain caused by unregulated settlements and population pressure. So, in conclusion, infiltration should be viewed as an environment security nexus, and I'll address uh, how it requires integrated approaches that balance ecological sustainability with human and national security concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. And I request our audience to please join next week for her topic, which is cross-border infiltration and its effects on the environment with a case study of India. I want to thank, as we are coming close to the session, to everyone, to all the teachers and students for being a part in our growth of this platform. And as said, that we need to cultivate the habit of being grateful for everything that comes to us. So now, to express the gratitude and vote of thanks, I want to request Manish sir.
Okay, thank you, Manvi. So, Manvi, how many hours did you sleep?
So I actually 10 plus hours I actually slept because
I
I
do,
was not well
I
with
do.
pollution.
I don't think so. And the same question with so many students and Anaga also. So it's a very relevant topic, and few of my students are also smiling because they are here. That this is not a very appropriate topic to talk on. Like Smita is here, Pritika is here, Rupa is here. So they are my students, and they know this is the most important thing in our life, sleep pattern or the sleeping behavior. But before my remarks and vote of thanks, I would like to invite few of my scholars or those who in the audience to their quick remarks. So, firstly, I'd like to invite Akriti. Can you give us a quick remarks about what you uh, want to say? Something.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Anaga, congratulations for the wonderful talk. And I just want to say, of course, there are gaps in sleeping patterns as well because I know about my sleep. I sleep around 4 and woke up around 10 or 9:30. So I have noticed it. And also what I feel, because I am also working on gender from so many times. So it's like that only. I feel that this is also a very constructed phenomena. For example, as Abhishek sir was saying that अगर कोई आदमी घर का काम करता है तो उसको आदमी नहीं समझा जाता है बल्कि उसमें एफिनिटी देखी जाती है. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो द सोशली कंस्ट्रक्टेड फिनोमेना बिकॉज आई डोंट फील जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि काम की कोई जाति नहीं होती है, ऐसे ही काम का कोई जेंडर भी नहीं होता है. So I feel it is constructed phenomena. So these are my remarks. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, thank you, thank you. Smita, want to say something? Smita? Okay, maybe she's sleeping. Huh? Uh, so the next I would like to invite Sonali. Sonali, are you here? So it's a very
Hello.
good, yes, Sonali. Yes, Sonali. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Uh, मैंने ये पूरा टॉपिक सुना और जैसे कि अनुजा ने एक्सप्लेन किया बहुत अच्छे से कि
Okay, I
अगर
think you are
स्टूडेंट गलत
out. You
करे.
are outside. Okay, okay, no issues, no issues. You are outside somewhere, but fine.
No, sir.
It's good.
Actually,
It's
it's the
good.
construction going
Okay, okay,
around. So
fine, fine, fine. Smita, you
yes,
are here. Smita.
Yeah. Uh, Congratulations for the impressive and insightful presentation, and the question answer session was incredible for me. It was like my mother was scolding me to sleep on time, and still we engage in different works. No, I have to write this article. I have to listen to this thing. So yes, it is there, and we want to sleep on time, but we have different things that we have generated by our own choice that needs to be finished on time. So it is like the duty and the need, so we have to balance. Thank you, sir.
Okay, but I'm her supervisor, so I don't think so. I'm responsible for your lack of sleep. Okay, thank you, Smita. So the last, Sneha Tyagi, want to say something? Okay, so great impact. People are sleeping, so it's fine. Okay, so it's not my final remark because I'm one side I'm very appropriate person to talk on this sleep pattern or not. But really, it's a very interesting topic. And first and foremost, I'll like to Angha. It's a really interesting how you like research on sleep, and you have presented a very good idea. Everybody knows about this maximum sleep or at least 6 to 8 hours sleep. But now these days, I've heard somewhere one Sadhguru is talking about you have control yourself to sleep only 2 hours. It's this is that, but I don't think so. Because today talk on the sleep, so some of my students knows that I today I woke up early at 7 o'clock, and it gives me very really too much time to work, because usually sometimes because I taught in so many evening colleges, so it's the whole change of sleep cycle, and you have given us a very important idea how that affect the gender or the second sex, what we call, and it's a very interesting. And also Dr. Abhishek Kumar also gives us a sense about the Raj Sundri Devi, the idea, and we understood through the Tanika Sarkar's article, and that depict a very good insight how she understood literature, language, and everything through the listening. And the whole book and whole article depicts about the so many things and how the gender or the women related to the religion also. Sometimes religion, sometimes work, sometimes family, and sometimes it's your duty gives you a less sleep. But one thing is very important, that we cannot segregate sleep into the Marxist pattern. This is my personal idea, or the different lenses. Because this is the most important. And now these days, when I join department, usually research is all about the problem, the problem identify, but the research is about how you solve that problem. So only the talking, only the researching and writing paper, this not gives us a sense to stop all those things. And Dr. Abhishek also and Manvi gives a sense, and last Angha also gives us the idea that how you control all these things. And right now, the most important thing, limited work, because usually I tell my students in my class, God gives us a two hands and two legs. So they limited our circulation. This is the most important thing we do understand, because Dr. Abhishek is from philosophy. I don't know more philosophy, but this is a philosophy. Otherwise, God would give us a four hand and several legs. Manvi, you are very serious, so you do understand. If God gives us the two hands and the two legs, so maybe our circulation and our work should and must be limited. So this is the biggest idea, because this is not my class. Usually, it's a 6 o'clock also. So thank you very much. A young scholar from Mata Sundri College, one of the pillar of GSTS, and you have given us a wonderful idea. So now also I promote the how the sleep pattern in Africa. Because there are so many tribal population are living there. So let's see how I inculcate all these things to my research also. And thank you to Dr. Abhishek Kumar. A very quick reminder at yesterday night, I told him, and just he agreed to come, and thank you. I hope you enjoyed a lot. This is the structure of the forum, and this is the 244th continuous talk without break every Sunday. And this is the strength due to the scholars, moderators. So thank you, Manvi, for giving us a wonderful moderation, and all the moderator, all principal, IQAC in charge, and TIC of the Shyam Lal Evening College. Thank you very much, and all the faculty members who presented here, all the students from graduation, post-graduation, MPhil, and PhD. So thank you, and we'll listen next from the Lady Sri Ram College student. She is going to talk on the terrorism or infiltration in the coming Sunday. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Take care. Okay, so it's time to leave. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you.